that's a conspiracy theory because you don't work for CNN. But if you worked for CNN, it would be true. How's it going, everybody? I have got a YouTube news update. Many of you might be familiar with the YouTube algorithm and some of the complaints from a lot of big YouTubers, but for those that aren't, let me give you a quick rundown. The algorithm basically is how YouTube determines what videos they should show people. So you know how you have recommended videos on the side of your channel, or after a video it shows you a bunch of other recommended videos? Or not only that, when you go to youtube.com, the front page shows you recommended videos. That's the algorithm trying to figure out what you like. So even if you subscribe to somebody, you might not see their videos appear on your front page. So now I'm gonna say, hit that like button, let's get 50,000 likes on this video, and go to my channel, subscribe, and then hit that little bell. Because this change to the algorithm directly impacts news creators. Following a string of conspiracy theory videos about the Las Vegas shooting, YouTube has decided to change its algorithm to push down what they call fake news and conspiracy theories. Now, originally, they said these videos were okay, and they didn't violate any terms of service of YouTube, but there were many complaints from victims, survivors, and their family members that these conspiracy theory videos were offensive. Thus, YouTube announced that they had been working on some changes for several months, but decided to push them out early to deal with these conspiracy theory videos. One of these videos says something like, proof of a second shooter, shots from the 4th floor, and this has 1.4 million views. Following the changes, this video doesn't appear in the search results anymore, at least that's what they're claiming. And the point is, they don't want to help propagate fake news. Thus, YouTube has officially stated that they are making editorial decisions about the content that appears on their platform. And certainly this is not the first time some kind of editorial decision was inadvertently made by YouTube. But it is interesting because we're entering a space where Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and these big companies, Google, have to decide where they draw the line on what content they allow and what content they don't allow. Now for me, this is a bit of a double-edged sword. First, I don't believe the conspiracy theories about Las Vegas. But I recognize that many conspiracy theories come from a place of interest and investigation. Often, a lot of people who are digging up conspiracy theories or propagating conspiracy theories, they're genuinely trying to figure out what's going on. They're just not particularly good at being investigative journalists, or they might jump the gun on their conclusion, which is a problem. Because, look, this video about the shooter on the 4th floor has 1.4 million views, and I'm sure a lot of people believe that it's true. But there are other videos showing that the light flashing on the 4th floor was a strobe light of some sort, and you can see it happening when there is no gunfire. It's just a consistent strobe light. It's Mandalay Bay. It's not unlikely, right? It's very plausible that somewhere in that hotel room, somebody had a strobe light and was doing drugs or something. But this video is not about debunking conspiracy theories. This video is about the alternative media and the mainstream media and where we're all going. You may have seen the video I did yesterday about the road to a Western dictatorship. I talked about how as long as the left and the right believe that more government is the solution to their respective problems, we are walking down a path of creating more government. But what happens when the platforms that we use decide what content we are and are not allowed to share? We are seeing a big problem with YouTube from demonetizations, right? My videos get demonetized, and that's a problem. That disincentivizes news creators like myself from spending the money to come to places like Barcelona, where I am now, for the Catalonian independence, because I might not make any money doing this. It might cost me money, and there's no reward at the end of this mission. And that means in the future, I might not be able to afford coming out. Now, there are alternatives like Patreon and other donation systems that allow me to keep doing the work that I do. But this is just the next step in disincentivizing news creators. You might be familiar with a man named Mike Cernovich. If you're not, he is a New Right personality, he's a journalist, and there's a recent interview from Vice that was just promoted. I think it's going to be airing on HBO at some point, where they talked to him about, is he a journalist, some of the things he's claimed, some of the conspiracy theories that he's been pushing. And Mike Cernovich says something really, really interesting. He also said the same thing in an interview with 60 Minutes, that there are two universes right now. He goes on to say that no one who follows him is going to watch Vice on HBO, so this doesn't matter anyway. He says that you can make him look like some kind of caricature of a monster, but it doesn't matter, because it's not going to impact anybody who actually follows or cares about Mike Cernovich. And in this promo, right, I haven't actually seen the Vice episode, but in this promo, they meet with some expert who actually shows a visualization of the left and the right on Twitter and how separated they are. And we've seen this over the past few weeks. Journalists tend to be, on this graph, far to the left.
And then what you see here blinking in blue are the verified journalists, and the yellow represent unverified journalists. And
so both the verified and the unverified journalists are all the way over here. There's no journalists connecting to the Trump supporters at all.
Isn't that very interesting? At least on Twitter, we see that there is a separation of where the journalists and who the journalists are following, and no one is really listening or plugged into this Trump supporter graph. This suggests that we are missing fundamentally as a society some of the voices that led to Trump's success.
Surprise, surprise. Now, I'm somebody who follows people in the mainstream media and in the new right and conservatives. I try to follow a little bit of everybody so I can understand what the hell is going on. And this is true. There really are two universes. I can't tell you how many times I go on Twitter and I see all the mainstream journalists talking about Russia, saying Russia this, Russia that. And then I look over and I see the new right and alternative media talking about either something entirely different or refuting the story coming from the mainstream media. It's like there are two universes with a different set of facts to focus on. This is where things start to get dangerous with YouTube. And let me just reiterate, this problem, for me, it's a double-edged sword. Taking down fake news, that sounds awesome. Fake news sucks. But fake news can come from the mainstream media too. And YouTube replaces these conspiracy videos with reputable sources, which basically just means mainstream media. How many alternative sources actually appear on the YouTube news section? This is another video that I've done in the past. Relatively none. It's mainstream media, mainstream news organizations, who all kind of say the same thing. Now, why is it that mainstream media outlets tend to hold similar opinions? Take, for instance, the whole Jimmy Kimmel fiasco, where you have a series of late-night hosts who all hold the same political views, for the most part, say basically the same things, and endorse the same candidates. Because they're trying to target the largest demographic possible, and this is the way that they think they can do it, by targeting the lowest common denominator. In their minds, there are more people on the left willing to spend money, and so they can make more money off advertising if they target them, if they agree with them and get those people to watch their shows. And technically, they're not wrong. Donald Trump did lose the popular vote. He won the election, but he lost the popular vote. So there are more people who don't like Donald Trump than who do. So it's a safe bet. If you want eyeballs on your content, then don't target Trump fans, because there's more of the other group, in which case every media company is going to tout very similar opinions, maybe even more extreme than the next, right? So they'll put out a story, and then in order to get more eyeballs from somewhere else, they'll make the story a bit more extreme, and they'll keep writing it, and then we end up with homogenous opinion. So there have been instances where journalists have written bad stories. Take, for instance, this reporter from the Washington Post who made an incorrect statement about James O'Keefe. Did he correct it? No, he flat out refused to correct it. So why then are we supposed to believe that YouTube censoring alternative or conspiracy videos is going to be any better? Am I going to appear on the whitelist of credible sources? How am I supposed to know? Are other independent journalists, We Are Change, Rubin Report, are they going to appear as well? Again, I don't know, because when you look at the news section, you tend to just see mainstream media outlets. When you combine those two problems, YouTube controlling for what is or is not fake news, Facebook doing the same thing, and they're going to the mainstream media saying, you are the most reputable, so you're what we're going to show. But then we realize that the mainstream media is just trying to say what is the most palatable and will attract the most viewers. In which case, are we going to see anything potentially controversial, anything anti-government, anything that might be someone whistleblowing, for instance? I think the reality is it's not likely if we follow this path, because everyone's going to try and play it safe so they don't get in trouble, they don't lose money. Conspiracy theories often result in bad things. Look, some guy went to Comet Ping Pong with a gun and, you know, fired some rounds, and the whole thing was absolutely crazy. Okay, so that whole conspiracy theory, it just went off the rails. And even most people in the new right agree that the Pizzagate stuff kind of went nuts. These conspiracy theories, you know, they can lead to bad places. But the truth is, sometimes conspiracies are in fact real. Yeah, the government is probably withholding information about the Las Vegas shooter because of an ongoing investigation. Maybe there's some information pertaining to that would affect national security, and so, surprise, surprise, the government keeps secrets. In which case, good journalism sometimes has to be adversarial and controversial. Dare I say it, but we need conspiracy theories. I personally believe the answer to bad news is good news, is good journalism. And it can be difficult because people will often separate themselves into tribes and then just feed themselves confirmation bias. It's a really hard thing to overcome. But certainly the answer is not YouTube having an editorial decision in what content gets shown to people. We've seen the sandboxing. Some videos can't be shared or liked or commented on. And now we're seeing the algorithm change to disincentivize these kinds of conspiracy, fake news, or, dare I say it, investigative videos. The video about the 4th floor shooter was someone seeing the flashing light, jumping the gun, and saying, that looks like muzzle fire with a time delay. I think there's a shooter on the 4th floor. Plus, we heard the police say there may be another shooter. Therefore, they truly believed that was the case. If people want to share that video and want to watch it, I don't think they should say no. And the reason is, there will come a time when one of these videos is true, is correct. And are we going to be the people who say we are proud that that groundbreaking story was removed at our request? This is the challenge of the future. There may come a time when some independent journalist, investigative reporter, puts out a damning piece of information, proof, statements, and says, I can definitively say X, and then it goes viral and YouTube says, that's a conspiracy theory because you don't work for CNN. But if you worked for CNN, it would be true. So who decides what is fake news? Because when we look at that chart that we saw in that Vice promo, one side believes the other side's fake news, the other side believes the other side's fake news, and most people just don't trust the mainstream media. I'm gonna wrap up just by reiterating a thought from another video I did. When it comes to the mainstream news, and many people that I know on the left, I don't want to generalize anybody, but when it comes to the people I know who are left, these aren't people who are actively searching for news on war, conflict, foreign policy, immigration, etc. Many of these people are more interested in social policy and social issues. So they get their news from the news faucet that is mainstream media. They turn on the tap, news comes out, and they say, that's the truth. But people on YouTube, they're looking for something they can't find, something alternative to the mainstream media. They don't immediately trust CNN or MSNBC or Fox News, so they go to Google, they go to YouTube, and they search for things. Why is this video about the Las Vegas shooter conspiracy theory, why is it going viral? Because people are looking for it. Because when they go to mainstream media, they don't feel satisfied. And there's an interesting phenomenon that I've found on Twitter, that when you look at personalities in the new right, they have massive engagement. Cernovich talking about how he gets 100+ million engagements or more. And then I look at mainstream personalities, people with millions of followers, hundreds of thousands of followers, and they get 1 or 2 retweets. It's a really strange world, but the reason for this is that even among my followers, the people on the left don't retweet, don't engage, and don't comment. And so when you look at my tweets, you'll see a bunch of people in the new right or center or whatever you want to call it commenting and asking questions. There's been some interesting situations where people have said, look at everyone responding, they're all Trump supporters, where no one on the left follows you, Tim. And then a bunch of liberals popped up and said, no, we follow, we just don't comment or interact that much. So that's an interesting phenomenon. These people have tons of followers on the left in the mainstream media, but these are people who aren't interacting or asking questions. And then when it comes to news, they just accept what they hear as the news. And then there are people who engage, who counter, who argue, and they tend to be the new right. I feel like every time I do a video talking about YouTube or my channel's getting demonetized, social media, protests, it's just all so, the world is ending and things are getting worse. We're slowly moving to a bad place. I don't know if the future's gonna be bad, and I feel like doing stories that are negative all the time kind of sucks, but I guess that's the point of news, and it's why news is a challenge, because I'm gonna tell you things that might suck, and it might make you unhappy, but knowing these things, hopefully, will help you navigate your situation, your life, and hopefully, with that knowledge, you can live a little bit better. You can predict better what will happen and plan more effectively. So I hope that's the outcome of what I do. And I hope that I don't fall prey to the changes in the YouTube algorithm. But let me know what you think. Comment below and we'll keep the conversation going. Just comment stuff, I suppose. If you have any thoughts or ideas, anything you want to send my way, you can shoot me a message or an email, tim@tagg.ly. If you want to support my work, go to timcast.com/donate. Give whatever you'd like or give nothing at all. My videos are always free and available every day at 4 p.m. And follow me on Twitter @timcast for breaking news and live streams around the world. Here's your update from Barcelona. There's going to be a massive protest on Sunday. There's also going to be a protest on Saturday, but it's expected to be smaller and more peaceful. Sunday, I'm hearing they're shipping in people from Spain, from outside of Catalonia, to come in and support the federal government. And then Monday is when we're supposed to see the Declaration of Independence. So things may get crazy, and you will find all that breaking news on Twitter, and I will go live should anything happen. But again, stay tuned for videos every day at 4 p.m., and I'll see you then.